If you're here for my seminar, we're about to get started. So, just like in class, if I could ask everyone to pay attention, line up, so to speak, and keep the talking down in the back, that would be awesome. And you know what they say, and I say this every seminar, but statistics have shown the closer you sit to the teacher, the more you learn. So if you could, move forward. I say this every time and no one does it, but if you could, move forward, I'd appreciate it. I was talking to someone right before this, and I was like, I like being in the main room, but also we kind of lose intimacy a little bit, you know? But it is what it is. All right, my topic today really highlights two words: execution and excuses. The title is Execution Over Excuses. So I'm going to be talking about this topic today, and I want to start off by just asking or getting everyone to think about, because I know I felt like this before. Do you ever feel like, man, every day you put in a lot of work, you work hard every day, you're doing the work, you're sweating, you're getting all the tasks done, but then the next day the to-do list just adds up again. You have 12 things to do today, and tomorrow there's another 12, and the next day another 12, and sometimes it shrinks, but then it just keeps growing. And you feel like you're in this grind of work. Well, you're not alone, but I am going to give you some tips today to help you with that. And this isn't theory. This is stuff that I use. Because a little background on myself. Like all of you, like most of you, I started as a martial arts student. I fell in love with martial arts. It came to me in a point in my life when I needed it the most. When a lot of my role models and father figures didn't live up to the expectation I had for them, my martial arts instructor did, and martial arts changed my life. At 18 years old, I made a commitment that I would do martial arts for the rest of my life. Not only do martial arts, but I would teach martial arts for the rest of my life. It's a commitment that I plan on following through until the end of my life. So I'm a martial artist first. I then made the transition to teaching martial arts. And that was a big transition, but the difference there was I wasn't doing it for me anymore. I was doing it for my students. So I decided to be the best instructor that I could be. And I wanted to surround myself with the best of the best and learn from them. So I went on a mission to become the best instructor. My mom would marry my martial arts instructor when I was in my 20s. So now it became like a family business. And so now I was promoted to head instructor and then manager. And so I've been an employee, I've been a student, and of course now I own 2 martial arts schools and I have a team underneath me. But I understand what it's like at every stage. So I know we have some owners in here, we have some program directors, some assistant instructors, some instructors. So this talk is going to be for everybody. And I want to frame this with, here's my analogy for today. Business is a game. I learned this 20 years ago from Tony Robbins. Never met Tony Robbins, but he's a mentor of mine. You know, some mentors you don't actually have to meet. When I was in my mid-20s, I got obsessed with personal development. And Tony Robbins was one of those guys. My parents, we had a martial arts school. We had an after-school program. I drove the bus and picked up kids from school for like 10 years, hated it, and swore when I opened my school I would never do after school, so we don't do after school. But on the way, on those bus trips, I would put in my earphones and listen to Tony Robbins. One thing he mentioned, one thing that stuck with me is, be careful the metaphors you attach to certain things. So in 1991, a song came out called Life is a Highway. Anyone ever heard that song? Life is a highway. And I want to ride it all night long. That's a metaphor. Life is a highway. If that's your metaphor for life, okay, means you can go fast, you can go slow, but you got to watch out. You got to pay attention to the road. You never know. There could be wrecks, but it's a highway. A couple years later, another song came out. Actually, it was the same year. I looked it up. Life's a dance. You learn as you go. Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow. That's a metaphor. What an interesting metaphor for life. A couple years after that, another famous movie came out, and the character said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. That's another interesting way to look at it. But what's your metaphor for business? You have one. Whether you realize it or not, some of you guys, in speaking with you yesterday and today, you told me what your metaphor was. Business is a grind. I catch myself saying that sometimes. Slap myself. If that's your metaphor for business, what emotional feeling is attached to a grind? Every day it's a grind. We're getting bumps and bruises and scrapes and blood and wow, I really want to be in business. To me, I choose a different metaphor. To me, it's a game. A game is meant to be played. A game is meant to be fun and won. Just made that up. Fun and won. But it's true. That's it. So to me, life is a game. So this is the framework. Now, games have rules. Business has rules. Games have goals, so does business. There's levels to games, there's levels to business. Every game has players, and so does business. And then, like I just said, games are fun, and business should be fun. And if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. If you're not having fun, your team's not having fun. And what the heck are we doing with our life? We got one life. This is it. And we all know how short it can be. Lost my mom a year and a half ago. Without her, I wouldn't be here. Literally, on this earth, but I wouldn't be on this stage. So it can go like that. And I would hate for it at the end of this thing to go, man, and have regrets. Why did I spend my life doing this and stressing? Let's have fun. So everything I'm going to tell you today, all of it works. Unless. So here's the caveat, and this is what I want to talk about first. Well, before I talk about that, here's what we're going to be covering today. Rules of the game, levels to the game, how to win the game, what's the strategy, and how to have fun. But here's what I want to talk about first. Because it's funny, when you go from student to instructor, like I know for me, when I was training and I would sit in class and we would do the reps, and I would watch my instructor teach the other students, and I would look over at the other kids like, how come they don't just do what he says? Just do what the instructor says. Like, I don't understand why you can't pay attention. Like, in my mind, I just couldn't understand it. And then you become an instructor and you realize, oh, some people just don't listen. This is difficult. Like, if I just tell someone and explain a technique, not everybody gets it the same. I have to learn how to communicate differently for different people. And now that I'm a consultant, I like to think of myself more as a mentor. I'm talking with and I'm working with different people, and it's funny to me that sometimes you give one person the exact same information, and you give this person the exact same information, and they take it in two different directions, and they have different results. How is that possible? Well, here's why I think it's possible. It comes down to your mental maps, or in other words, your belief system. What you believe to be true. Now let me ask you a question. Are beliefs and facts the same? Yes or no? Murmurs. Okay, interesting. They can be, but it doesn't. What you believe doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose I live in Houston. So let's suppose you want to fly to Houston. You've never been to Houston, but you want to come visit Hero Martial Arts Academy. That's my school. And so you land in Houston, and let's pretend the year is 1990. No cell phones, right? I used to work for Domino's Pizza back in the day. No cell phones. We had this huge wall map, and we had to read the map and pull out a key map. And so it's 1990 again. And you land in Houston, and you want to find my school, and so you go up to someone, you find a kiosk, and you buy a map of Houston. And you assume you bought the right map. But let's suppose you bought the wrong map. Instead of a map to Houston, you have a map of Dallas. Would it matter how hard you try, how smart you are, how talented you are? Would your beliefs matter at all if you had the wrong map? No. You have the wrong map. Some of us, including myself, have the wrong map about business, about life, about employees. And what I'm saying is you might have the wrong beliefs. Limiting beliefs are something that we all have. They're not facts, but they can feel like facts. Has anyone ever seen or heard of the belief cycle? Another Tony Robbins. It's a belief cycle. I didn't make the graphic up here. But basically, what you believe to be true, you take action on, and then you get the result, and that reaffirms your belief, either positive or negative. See, I told you it wouldn't work, but you didn't really try because you didn't really think it would work. As opposed to someone who's like, yeah, okay, I believe I'm going to do it. They get a different result. See, I told you it would work. Let's do harder next time. So it can either spiral down or spiral up. So understanding this, here are some of the limiting beliefs that you might have or you've heard other people have. So first one, I don't want to be too salesy. I don't like selling. I said that a lot when I was younger. Actually, I kind of still believe that to be true. I don't like selling. I don't want to be sold. But a lot of us have this belief in our business, and for that reason, you modify things. You don't work on being a good salesman. But I would argue we're all salesmen, human beings. Who has kids? Man, they're the best salesmen around. That little 2-year-old wants a cookie from the cookie jar. They're going to work you until they get that cookie. And it doesn't stop. I've got a 19-year-old. She's in a sorority, and she's going to college, and she wants a new car. It never stops. And if you're good at being a salesperson, you can get more of what you want. I don't want to nickel and dime people. What does that even mean? I think I know what that means, but it may mean something different for you, nickel and dime people, but you hear people say that all the time. I don't want to nickel and dime people. How about this one? No one is loyal anymore. I just made a post about this like a couple weeks ago about loyalty, and I had to catch myself. No one is loyal anymore? Is that true? It's not true. But if we believe it, we make it true. My art shouldn't be commercialized. Or I want to stay traditional. What the heck does that mean? Traditional? Go back and study tradition. It's about as old as like the last generation. Tradition is whatever you want it to be, but that's my belief. Might not be yours. There's no point in working harder. Maybe you're an employee. I've literally heard this on the internet lately. There's no point in working hard. You'll never work your way up. Someone who has that belief, man, they're going to attack business and work in their career a lot differently. So different beliefs lead to different outcomes, even in similar situations. And what I mean by that is, you and I have the same skills, we have different beliefs, given the same information, we're going to take different paths. Leads to different outcomes. Why am I hitting this so hard? Because I think this is the most important thing. And everybody thinks I'm talking about the person next to them. And not them. But I'm talking to myself. I'm looking in the mirror too. We got to do some soul searching on this, guys. So if you don't first challenge your beliefs and update them, like I said before, none of these strategies work, and I forgot I have this clicker. I should be using the clicker. So thinking time. How many of you guys actually set aside time every day or every week to just sit and think and ponder about life, business, your relationships? No cell phone, no music, just think. It's so important. For me, I have to walk. I take walks. I'm that weird guy walking around the neighborhood. They're probably like, this guy's always walking around the neighborhood. But I walk and I think through. Literally, I come up with my best solutions and epiphanies during thinking time. So, thinking time here, I'm not expecting you guys to go on a walk right now or really have an epiphany, but listen, ask yourself, what beliefs do you hold that may be holding you back. Beliefs about business. Does anyone want to share? Nobody's going to share. Who wants to share? Anybody? That I heard of me? Yes, go ahead. What's your belief? Limiting belief. There's not enough qualified employees out there. Raise your hand if you have the same belief. Liars. Okay, cool. But that's a limiting belief. I want you to think hard about this. This takes a lot of soul searching, and you got to be honest with yourself. Honesty is key. All right. With all that being said, I want to kind of finish and kind of wrap this chapter up with changing your beliefs is challenging for people because we often attach our identity to those beliefs. I'm this guy. I'm that kind of person. This is just the way I am. As we get older, it gets harder to change. Have you ever met someone later in life, older in life, who's changed their beliefs? Very rare. I find those kind of people to be enlightened. If you're the kind of person when presented with other information can change the way you think about something, I think you're a very intelligent person. Emotional, intelligent, and in tune. And so a lot of what we do in business is this. It's understanding ourselves and our beliefs, because I'm going to explain. It's a game, and it's pretty simple if you understand the rules. In order for anything to change, you got to change. Listen, if I'm talking to owners, what I love about small business, it's a reflection of us. My business, my team, and my students is a reflection of me. If I'm organized and I'm driven, so will my team be. If I'm scatterbrained and I'm all over the place and I'm not very disciplined, my team and my school and my students will reflect that. So if you don't like something, look in the mirror and ask why. If you're an employee, a staff member, a team member, which I was, you have to take responsibility for your role in all of it. And that's something I believe I did. So let's get to this metaphor, because I want to give you guys some things. I get excited about this, because this is literally how I look at everything. Everything's a game. You can waste your time complaining about the game, complaining about the rules of the game. That's not fair. How come the game's set up this way? I don't like that. You can complain about it all you want, or you can take action and start playing the game. Rules may change. Okay, so what? A friend of mine who, in 1988, competed and medaled in the Olympics. His name is Juan Moreno, Taekwondo guy. If you're in Taekwondo, you know. Juan, back then, Taekwondo was a different thing than it is now. And if you know, you know. It was called trembling shock. It was like, there weren't electronics. It was like, hey, how do you win? Hit them hard, knock them out. Try to score points, but knock them out if you can. Now it's a little different game. They have electronics, and it's like tapping, and oh, I got kicked a little bit. I got 5 points because I got like brushed in the head. It's a different game. A lot of those old-time competitors complain about the new game. And they haven't adapted. And so they have no success in the new style. Juan Moreno is still an active coach, coaching at a high level, coaching Olympic athletes. And I asked him, I'm like, what do you think about these new rules in the new game? He's like, you just have to find a way to adapt. I mean, he's saying what I'm saying right here. Like, you can complain about the rules, or you can find a way to win. That's a belief system. So, let's play the game. First, any game you play, you got to know the rules. Here's the rules in business. It's really simple. Be honest, be legit, stay legal, play within the boundaries, pay your dues, meaning taxes, employees, and cover your, someone said it for me, thank you. Meaning, make sure you're compliant, you have insurance. Those are the rules. Play within the boundaries. Everything else, fair game. So in every business, there's 3 players. All right? Now, I learned this from reading a book 20 years ago from a man called Michael Gerber. It's called The E-Myth. The E-Myth Revisited. If you haven't read it, or if you haven't read it in a while, it may be worth picking back up and reading. There's 3 players on every team. These 3 players represent our 3 personalities in every one of us. We're going to have a little bit of each one of these players in all of us, but certainly one of these is going to come to the forefront. And then within an organization, ideally, if you want to grow and get to the last stage of the game, you have to have all 3 of these players playing at a high level. All right, there's the build-up. Now, who are the players? Number 1, the first player is what we label as the technician. These are the masters, the professors, the ones with wisdom and experience who've honed their craft for years and years. These are the people on the mat teaching the classes. Without them, there is no business of martial arts. But in other industries, they're the plumbers, the doctors, they're the people, electricians, they're all the people who know how to do the tasks. And what happens in business, for most of us, including myself, we start off as technicians. And then one day, we decide, hey, I want to open my own business. And because I'm really good at being a technician, and I know how to teach martial arts, and I have a lot of skill and technique, and I know how to teach this, I'll be successful in business. That's not true. That is not how that works. Just because you're a technician does not qualify you to be good in business. You need technicians, but you need this next player as well. Here's the next player, the manager. Managers are different than technicians. Yes, they're good at their job, but they think differently. Technicians want freedom. Don't tell me what to do. I know how to do my job. I got it. Class plans? I don't need a class plan. I got it. I don't know about you guys, but I've been doing this a long time. I don't like class plans. Like, I don't want to be told. I want to get a feel for the class and see what they can do and then make a class plan in my head. But I can do that because I've been doing it so long. I'm a master technician. New instructors aren't master technicians. But here's the thing. We need managers. Managers love order. They love labeling things, putting things in boxes, creating systems, and holding people accountable. And if you're a great manager, you're also a great leader, and you can get other people to fall in line. Most small businesses are great technicians and horrible managers, which is why I tell most people, if you're hiring your first team member, hire a manager, because you're probably not good at it, and you probably never will be. This was true for myself. Now, I've worked on it, I'm better at it, but I've also hired and trained people to be better managers. Okay, those are the first 2. You need the technicians, you need the order, accountability. The third one, here's the third one. The third one is the visionary. The visionary is the one that can see into the future and has all the great ideas about what could be. They love attending seminars, reading books, thinking into the future, listening to podcasts, changing things, and what if we do it this way? What if we do it that way? How about we open a second school? No, wait, how about we stay? They're always all over the place. We need visionaries. But if the visionary is running the whole show, oh boy, it's going to be a mess. And a lot of entrepreneurs are great technicians and visionaries, but lack management. They're not managing themselves or their thoughts. So here's the problem, and this is where you got to sync up the team here. Like I mentioned before, the visionary is always changing things. Usually that's the boss. I remember coming back from these seminars and I would be all fired up. Guys, here's what we got to do. One word, systems. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, and I would get those little eye rolls. Like I would see the little micro expressions in my team, like they're not on board with what I'm saying. It's because I was always constantly changing things. I always say I have curriculum ADD. Anyone have curriculum ADD? Ooh, this is cool, that's cool, let's change this, let's do that. But you need the visionary. But here's the problem. Managers want things to stay the same. I can't manage and organize a business if you're constantly changing things. By the way, I told you, these three people are inside all of you. You have to learn to manage and have all of these people communicate together, but also in a business. And so there ends up being friction between managers and visionaries. But there's also more friction. Here's the other part to it. Technicians don't like being confined to doing it this way. They want to have the freedom. They're artists at heart. They want to have the freedom to paint any picture they want. So there's usually friction between the technician and the manager. So we have to find a cohesiveness, and I'm going to explain how to do this. Now, I usually use something similar when I'm training my up-and-coming black belts and explaining my philosophy of martial arts. I'll use something like this, a pie chart, but for the sake of this discussion, it kind of works. So I want you to imagine each one of these pieces of the pie, you could fill up, like imagine there's liquid in it, right? And you could fill it up to the top, or maybe there could just be a little bit, and based on how much liquid is in each section, that's like a scale of how good you are at each section. So to play along, imagine you were a great technician, and all of that orange was filled up, but your management skills in your business was poor, and so maybe you're at a level 2. You just have a sliver filled up on the manager, and on the visionary, you're somewhere in the middle. If that was a wheel, would that roll very well? No, because it's not even. You would be better off having a sliver, a little bit, on each section. I wish I could get up there and touch it and show you guys, and so it would be a small wheel, and it would be symmetrical, and it would roll, but it wouldn't roll very far. But if each one of those sections are filled to the brim, now that wheel is symmetrical, it's large, and it can roll far and fast with little effort. That's the way I want you to think about your business. So, thinking time. Take a picture, think about it, maybe on your flight home, your drive home. What player are you in the business? And does your team lack specific players? It's a great question to ask because you got to know, if you're going to know where you're going and what to fix and what to work on, you have to know where you start. In other words, if you're playing the game, where are we starting in the game? All right, there's levels to the game of business. There's 5 levels to the game of business. So let's go through it, and I want you guys, as I'm explaining each level, to think about what level you're on. So here's the first level. Level 1, starting the game. By the way, I got Mario up here. Anyone play Mario, Super Mario, back in the day, or still? Yeah. So level 1, right? You got to beat level 1. Level 1 is you're the self-employed stage. Self-employed means, I got an idea. I'm going to start a business. Yeah. And you start a business, and it's a turnkey business. You know what that means? If I turn the key, I got a business. If I don't show up and turn the key, I don't have a business. I'm self-employed. I got no employees. I'm everybody. I take the role of technician, manager, and visionary. But here's the problem. You can't be all 3 if you're self-employed. You're going to stay at level 1 for a long time because you're doing everything. When I started my school, I was the janitor, I was the program director, I taught all the classes. I mean, I did everything, basically is what I'm saying. I did everything. I had little time to manage myself or think about the future. But I knew from day 1, because I read the book before I opened my business, and so I studied the E-Myth, I knew I needed help. So here's the cool part. If you're an employee and you're coming into a business at this stage, which, by the way, when I started training in martial arts and I got involved in teaching, we were at this stage. My instructor, Master Cantu, was doing everything. Everything. And I started to help. The good part about this is, if you're coming in at this stage, you're at ground zero. You can help build the school and get it to the next level. You're going to start to see how things operate and how things work, and you have the opportunity to be at a high level in the company later on down the road because you put in that sweat equity and you know more than anyone else. You probably will have some say-so in how things go, which is awesome. So self-employed stage is level 1. Here's level 2. Level 2, which I think a lot of you guys are in, if not further, is the systems building stage. Now you realize, oh crap, I can't keep doing this for the rest of my life. Like, I'm not getting ahead, I'm overworked, I'm stressed out. I got to start to build systems, because if I'm going to hire people, if I'm hiring them and I have no systems to train them on, what am I hiring them to do? Watch me teach class? That's what I did back in the day. I hired people, watch me teach class. And I never let them teach class. They were just my assistants. Like years of just paying people to watch me teach. What am I doing? I got to have a system here. So you either create the systems or you research or buy the systems. Either way, you start to create these systems. That's level 2. Now what happens is you're still teaching the classes, but now you're having to manage the systems and you're starting to hire people. You have a little bit more time to think about the future and have that vision. But the visionary role is still very unclear. And you're doing now both work. You're doing the technical work and the management work. And so if you know you need help managing and organizing, I would suggest dive into that. You don't need to teach more, get better at teaching. You need to learn more about management and business and organization and systems. All right, level 3. Now it's time to build a team, a real team. You got the systems in place. You know what needs to be done. Now you start to hire people to do the work. And I suggest first person you should hire is like a program director, someone to help you manage things, organize things. And you can focus on being the great technician. For team members, this is in this stage coming on board, now you can have faith knowing that there are systems in place and there are defined roles. The team is still building, and if you're driven enough, you can now find your place and rise to the top. Team building stage. Next one, high performance stage. Now things are cooking. You got a team in place, you got systems, you're managing the team, but now they're starting to become high performers. Now they're starting to become excellent technicians. You hire a manager, and now they're really good at their job. You can step back. Now, as an owner, you can kind of step back and let them run some of the classes or most of the classes. And you can now manage the manager. You're still managing, but you're now managing the manager to manage the school and to manage the team. So what does that open up for you as the owner? You can now spend more time being the visionary, networking, systems building, trying to understand what's the latest trends, trying to understand AI and all the stuff that's constantly changing. That I was talking to some of you guys today, and like even I was feeling like, man, overwhelmed with how fast things are changing. Well, you're overwhelmed because you're doing all this other stuff. So now, at this stage, you can start to focus on that. And this is where things start to progress and compound pretty quick. So high performance stage is number 4. And number 5, this is the advanced growth. This is what Mr. Metzger was talking about in the last one. This is where things just have to evolve because there is no other answer. If you have a high performance team and you have systems and now you're backing off and teaching the classes and now you're creating technicians and you have managers that can manage the school and it just becomes this funnel. Now what do? We got to grow. You're either going to grow that one school or you're going to open up other schools. But the thing you need to remember at each stage, you got to look in the mirror. And if you're a team member, you can't blame the owner. You got to look in the mirror and say, well, what can I do? Ask not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. Same thing for business. This is a belief system I had. If I work hard enough, I'll get to the top. I don't think I'm the smartest. I don't think I'm the most talented. I don't have the most charisma, but I work my butt off. And I'm going to get there. And I'll do whatever it takes to win the game. And I'm going to have fun doing it. Life's a game. So ask yourself, what stage, what level are you on? Hopefully you've been taking notes and you've already answered that question. Now how do we get to the next part? I don't even know how much time I have left. I'm just going to talk until I get kicked off. Does anyone know? 10, cool. Okay, thank you. All right, strategy to win the game. First thing you got to know, you got to have a strategy. So we have to define what winning looks like. What game are you playing? Here's the thing. So I did some research on like video games, and I was looking into like Super Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers. You know there's different ways to play the game. Does anyone know that? Like there's people who like specialize in speed runs, right? How fast can I get through the game? As fast as possible. And they've learned that like if you turn Mario backwards and jump backwards, you take a fraction of a second off the time. Like he jumps backwards faster than going forwards. And so there's people that master playing the game speed runs. And they sit in front of the TV all day trying to figure out how to win. But there's other people say, no, I'm going to win. I want to collect as many coins as I can and try to finish with a high score. Here's the deal. You get to define how to win the game. Is it I want to have the most students? Is it I want to make the most money? Is it I want to help my team make the most amount of money? Is it all of those things? Do I want the highest student value? For me, it's kind of like all those things. That's how I know I'm winning. I want to be the best at what we can do. I want to take this philosophy of martial arts and like apply myself to become good at martial arts literally the way, and use that way applied to business. So define what winning looks like for you, and now the next thing you need to do in any game, you got to keep score. You got to track your statistics. What are those statistics? You said here's how you win. You defined it. Are you tracking it? If you're not tracking it, you're not playing the game. What game on earth do you just run through and there's no health meter? There's no score at the top. That's not a game. So track your statistics. Track it like a pro. If you can't say you're actually in the game if you're not tracking. Here's the next part. Study the masters. You know, in chess, there's literally master chess players. We start off as kids, we play tic-tac-toe. We think, man, this is hard, tic-tac-toe, man. And then you're like happy, like when you're beating your friends, until you figure out it's really easy to win or block and no one win. And so then you move to chess. You're like, whoa, this is difficult. I got to jump people and I get kinged. But if you ever start playing chess, you're like, oh my goodness, this is a next level. And there's master chess players because they've studied the game. Study the masters. Who are the masters in your field that you can study? If it is a game and I want to win, watch them play. Ask them questions. Play just like them, and you should have the same results as well. So what does it say? If you get stuck on a level, study others who have succeeded and learn from their strategies. A big part of winning the game, any game, especially the game of life, the game of business, is to look for patterns. All right, we're all martial artists. So if you've sparred, fought, grappled, I think you guys understand the concept of you got to be good at reading patterns. People all tend to respond the same kind of way to certain stimuli. If I jab you in the face and I hit you, the next time I fake the jab, the hands will probably go up. You'll probably flinch. I can use that. It's the same thing in life. In business, you've got to be good at reading things and seeing the patterns. And if you're not, get close to people who can see them before you. Use maps, codes, and shortcuts. When I was a kid, I loved like Nintendo Power. Anyone from that generation? You get your Nintendo Power? Yeah. And you would get like you would open it up and it would give you the whole level to the game you wanted to play and all the cheat codes. We have that in business. This is why I joined Maya. Like, oh, give me the cheat codes. What am I doing? I'm wasting my life over here trying to figure this stuff out. Just give me the whole map. Tell me where to go. Tell me the warp zone so I can get to the next level. I'll just do what you tell me to do. I don't have a problem. I have no pride and no ego in trying to make this my own thing. Just tell me what to do. I'm creative, but I can be creative in other ways in life. In business, I want success. I want to win. Not for myself. For myself, yes, but more for my team. For the people I've promised, hey, stick with me on this journey. We're going to make it. Now I have them on my back, and I owe it to them to win at any cost. And then understand this, games are cyclical. You beat the game, you're not done. Go back and play it again. Business is cyclical. You finish the year off, guess what? Same thing happens next year. Most of the stuff we do happens year after year. Your job is to get better at it every year. Refine it, refine it, refine it. Take care of all the obstacles ahead of time. Plan out your year. Make things easier for yourself. And I think I'm almost done. Let's see what I got left. So when it comes to this metaphor of playing the game, don't just mash the buttons. You know what I mean? Mash the buttons, Street Fighter. I go to the arcade back in the day and I wouldn't know Hadouken, what the heck, how do I do that, right? And I would just hit the buttons and try to win. Then you got those skilled players who like, man, they spend $10 every weekend at the arcade and they know what to do. And they're going to mess you up. Be that technician in your business. And most importantly, have fun. How do we have fun? It's an attitude. It's your choice. Don't be that grumpy business owner, that grumpy employee no one wants to be around. You come in, it's like a cloud comes with you. You got to have fun. Everything in life is a choice. 2 things you have in life: time and choices. That's it. That's what you got. How much time? I don't know. This may be the last time you see me. I don't know. But I got choices to make every day. And attitude is one of them. Beliefs is one of them. So when you come into work, hey, gamify your daily task. Make things fun. Build a party, not a prison. Make things fun. And insert fun on purpose. Hey, just my suggestion. You may have a belief that says, no, work shouldn't be fun. I need to run a tight ship. Okay, cool. But that's your belief. Let's compare notes in 10 years and see how that works out. I don't know. To me, I want to have fun. And you got to play the game until you win. Keep playing until you win. Find a way. That's it. That's my time. Thank you, guys.